This must be a crooked legs day. My story is the race between the hare, which is a giant rabbit really, and the hedgehog. Now, we really don't have hedgehogs here in the United States, but they have them in Europe where this story has come from. And they're prickly little creatures. I have to do something on my screen right now. Something came up. There we go. And here's how it goes. Well, on one fine spring day, when the bees were buzzing and the buckwheat was blooming, and oh, all the smells of the flowers wafted through the air, a day like today, Mr. Hedgehog was watching his wife wash and dress the little hedgehogs, and he decided he would go out for a walk and check his turnips. Now, they were not exactly his turnips. They belonged to the farmer next door, but since he ate them regularly, he referred to them as my turnips. And he set out for his walk. He spied Mr. Hare, who was also out for a walk, probably to inspect his carrot patch. Now, Mr. Hare was a fine, elegant, an upstanding gentleman, a little stuck up, and he called out, "Good morning." Well, Mr. Hare pretty much ignored him. And then he looked at the hedgehog and said, "What are you doing out at this time?" I'm taking a walk." "Is that the best that you can do with those legs?" Now you see, Mr. Hedgehog's legs were what we call bow-legged. Some say bandy-legged. Well, Mr. Hedgehog could take a few insults, but he could not stand anyone commenting about his legs. He was very self-conscious. I told you they look a little prickly. Well, he got very prickly. And he said, "You'll see what these legs can do. I challenge you to a race right here in the field." A race? You're going to race against these long legs? I'm ready. Well, I haven't had my breakfast yet, and I'm feeling just a little faint. And so I'll meet you back in a half an hour, right here. Done. And so Mr. Hedgehog raced home, and as soon as he saw Mrs. Hedgehog, he told her that he had challenged the hare to a race, and he had even wagered a bet of a golden coin and a container of vegetable juice for the winner, of course. Now, Mrs. Hedgehog could not wrap her mind around this. "You have challenged the hare to a race with his long, fine legs? Have you lost all common sense?" Oh, that angered Mr. Hedgehog. "Wife, this is a man's business. I cannot explain, and you would not understand. And so ask me no more. Just do as I say." Now, that is not true, my children. You can see that, and I can see that. But Mr. Hedgehog was too upset to see truth that day. And in all that long explanation, he could have just told her what he wanted her to do. So he tells her to dress in his own clothes, a disguise, and then to run out ahead of him and ahead of Mr. Hare and hide in the furrow. Now, I don't garden with furrows in San Diego, but in Germany, where this tale hails from, the furrow is a lower place and the plants are growing up here. And so she did as she was told, and she was to call out at the end of one row of racing. She was to call out, "I'm here already," to the hare. And so Mr. Hedgehog went out and met Mr. Hare. Mr. Hare was looking very anxious to get started. "On your mark, get set, go." He went off like greased lightning. And he arrived at the end. And of course, Mr. Hedgehog just ran 3 paces and then settled down into the furrow very comfortably. When Mr. Hare reached the end of the furrow, Mrs. Hedgehog popped up. "I'm here already." "That cannot be possible. There's something very wrong. We must race again." "Oh yes, oh yes." And so Mr. Hare got ready. "On your mark, get set, go." And he took off like a tornado. When he got to the end of that furrow, which was really the beginning, Mr. Hedgehog popped up and said, "I'm here already." "That cannot be. There is something very, very wrong. Oh, we must race again." "We can race as many times as you like. So on your mark, get set, go." Off took that hare. Oh, faster than any hurricane. When he reached the end, as you know, Mrs. Hedgehog popped up. "I'm here already." Well, the hare had to prove in all of his conceit and his stuck-uppedness that he was faster. And so he raced back and forth 73 times. On the 74th time, he collapsed in the middle of the field and did not get up. He had passed out. And so Mr. Hedgehog got Mrs. Hedgehog, and they collected the prize, which was a golden coin and a container of vegetable juice with all the big chunks left in. And arm in arm, they walked off home to celebrate. Now, there could be many morals to this story, but the 2 most obvious morals are that it is always better never to be unkind to any creature and make fun of them, even if you think that they're smaller than you. And then the other moral, which is perhaps not as obvious, is that when you marry a wife or a husband, you may want to take someone who has about the same position and looks a lot like you, because that could come in handy someday. And thank you very much. And our next teller is, well, our next tellers are telling in tandem, and they are James Nelson Lucas and Patty Christensen. And sometimes together, they are the Patchwork Players and rollicking.